So this is one of the beds where we went along and dug out a lot of the rocks. In some of these cases we only dug out the rocks if they were near the surface and fairly small and loose and fairly easy to get out, although we still got some big ones out. And then in some rows we decided to take out more rocks to get some depth, because otherwise the plants don't have much soil depth to grow in. So we've done that along here, and what that then allows us to do is to grow a lot of companion plantings between the fruit trees. Okay, so there's a stone fruit there, and then there's the companions of comfrey, there's clover, there's a basil, and then there's lavender and clover and borage, more lavender, amaranth, borage, comfrey, flowering plant, borage, comfrey, stone fruit, fat hen. It's come up by itself. So we have this whole companion planting thing going on, and there's another stone fruit, and then the nitrogen fixing takasasti, and another stone fruit. And so if we can have probably 3 or 4 of these kind of rows, then I think they're going to be benefiting the whole food forest as a whole system, because they're going to have that diversity there, encouraging predatory insects, pollinators and so on, lizards, you know, all that kind of thing. So like this bed here, we've dug out all the rocks. You see all these big rocks have come out here, but I'll show you later a whole lot more rocks that came out. And in areas like this where it's really rocky, you know, it's a lot of work. It's sometimes a bit depressing, because 3 of us can work for 2 hours and only move 1.5 meters. So it's very slow going, but now we have a good 40 to 50 centimeter soil depth, and we've brought in materials from elsewhere to amend the soil and improve it. We've brought in soil from other places as well, and what we do is we dig off the terrace here to make it more flat and use the soil here. So it's kind of a sacrificial zone here, but we're not going to grow anything here, so we can dig away some of that soil. And in places like even up here where I made this nice bed here, the soil next to it went in here, and the terrace before where there's just so much rock, I've just scraped off any bits of soil that I can, and that's basically going to leave exposed rock there for long term. So we can't grow anything there won't even be grass really there, but that allows us to put the soil into one place and get a growing region, growing area. So we've got some currants here growing again with some companions. So we're kind of doing these deeper beds interspersed between the fruit and nut trees. And perhaps when the fruit and nut trees are huge, then these will get shaded out and won't do so well, but certainly in the first few years I think they're going to be very beneficial and very productive. Another project we've been working on in the last 3 months is this tree shack. It's our little retreat. It was a tree platform that I built December last year, and a couple of months ago I decided I would add some sides to it and put a roof on it so that you can be up here and not get hassled by mosquitoes, and you wouldn't have the sun burning you and all that kind of thing. So basically we've used a lot of salvaged corrugated iron and put a roof on. We had some C-section bits of steel that I bought secondhand from someone, and basically just built up the framework around a couple of old windows we got from the dump shop. Added some handrails, and yeah, I'll show you inside. So that is still here because I'm still finishing it off, but we have a little mattress here to lie on and read, and I've just decided to line the ceiling and the back wall with insulation underneath, and then a wood finish, just to give some heat relief from the sun. I guess in the summer the sun's going to be above, or when it's sitting in the west, and really heat up that back wall and the roof. So a little bit of insulation to make it more comfortable. 2 nice large windows to get some good airflow in here, and it does get a nice breeze coming through. And then if we really wanted to, we could open the door as well. There is a curtain over it, but we could put up a screen there for mosquitoes and flies if we really need the extra air to come through. But I'm really happy with how it's turned out. It's basically a little retreat for us to come when we've got some time off or when we want to take a break. And it means we don't have to get in our car to drive away somewhere. As usual, I always like to poke the camera into the greenhouse and show you what's growing in here. We're irrigating this a few times, 5 times a day I think, and letting things grow during the summer. Even though it gets extremely hot, things will still grow very well. So there's tomatoes, there's what's left over from the winter brassicas, there's amaranth growing. Some of my plants that are about to go out in the food forest are still here. Lemongrass, choco, Madeira vine, a few other things that like the heat and that, and yeah, going quite nicely. In the annual vegetable growing gardens circles, Evita's been doing a superb job at keeping food growing. She decided this year that when she netted the fruit trees, she'd net some of the veggie gardens to keep away the white cabbage moths, and made some other flying bugs. So seems to have worked very well. And then some she hasn't covered. I've got this Jerusalem artichoke creating biomass, taking the solar energy and converting it to biomass, and we eat it a little bit. We're going to try and saw someone say online that you could roast it for a long time and get a sort of sweet syrup coming out of it. So we're going to try that, because I think it's an untapped resource. We don't like eating it too much. It does give you a bit of a bloated stomach and gas. So we're going to try alternatives with it. Otherwise, there's always going to be a biomass accumulation tool that we use for mulch. We can feed the goats. The goats really like it, and it grows crazily. Gives a little bit of shade, I guess. Gives habitat for insects and stuff. Before I was talking about rocks, well, most of these rocks came out of that one hole that I showed you before. Yeah, that's why 2 hours, 3 of us, we only move 1.5 meters. It's because of all these rocks have to come out. And one person's constantly moving them to here while the other 2 of us are trying to dig out the next one. So this is underneath our big pine tree, and this is going to be a little microclimate here for growing strawberries and blueberries and any other acidic loving shade tolerant plants that we can find. It does get some sun, so I think the blueberries will be okay. Yeah, so this will be a wait and see. I've put irrigation dripper pipe on it, and there are some strawberries planted already. We're about to get the blueberries, and we bought in a ute load of compost and 2 ute loads of topsoil. We almost used all of that. There was some topsoil left. I'll show you some of the other gardens where we've been able to try and catch up with doing a bit of weeding and mulching, like Evita's doing right now.
Hello. Trying to tidy up.
So what's your method? Talk us through your method.
First of all, I don't take the weed out, because if I just cut, the roots will rot in the soil and fix the soil. So what I did is I just cut to the ground like that, and I put the rest on the top, and then the root rot, and I will put newspaper over it and put hay in the end. So that will feed the soil before.
Hey, what do you do? Hey?
I put straw. You love that joke. So anyway, so that will probably feed the soil before I come and plant the next crop.
Great. Yeah, so again, it's adding carbon to the soil, making it available to the soil to take it in and use it, feed life. So the weeds perform a function there of being the nitrogen source, the paper and the dried hay is the carbon source. And yeah, we only do this once a year, once every 2 years, as a maintenance of a no-dig system. This year we were having more success with some climbing beans. We put the work into putting up the trellis and it's paying off. The beans are enjoying the space to grow and producing loads of beans, enough to supply us, another couple that's camping down there by the off-grid caravan, and enough to even share with other people. We're only doing little bits of this. Like these terraces were done last year, and again they've just been renewed by the weed and mulch method. We've got some corn and squash growing up on that terrace. We've got sweet potatoes, watermelon and some squash, and normal potatoes growing in the mounded rows along here. We've got our little sort of like a tree buffer zone at the top with the Tagathases and there's apples and pecan trees up there. And down here we did do some terracing this in early spring. We dug up all the rocks out of here, added some amendments, mounded it up, and so there's volunteer tomatoes, there's potatoes, sweet potato, watermelon and squash, which are doing okay. Now we did fertigate them by siphoning water out of the duck pond up here, so they've got that twice, and now they've just had a little bit of rainfall, and we are predicted to get a bit more rain, so I expect these now to start growing much better, to flower and set some fruit. So we're looking forward to maybe getting watermelons, because we've never been able to grow watermelons yet. It's like every season that we're here we have some new victories. And this little kitchen garden that got converted to mostly perennials, that's been recently mulched. Because if we get a helper for a week, we really get motivated with their help to do some of these jobs. And we had great success. These nets that I showed you that we just started putting on in the spring equinox update video, wow, it's really been worth spending the money, taking the time to do it, because we're getting some fruit. We've had trays and trays of plums, 3 different types of plums, a few nectarines, and you can see there's more fruit to come. Some lovely plums off these trees that we grafted over 2 years ago. So totally worth the investment, and we're very happy now to get our own stone fruit that will keep us going, along with strawberries. This massive patch of strawberries is giving us beautiful, tasty strawberries, and we have enough that we can make jam and freeze some and give them away. So the gardens around the hobby hole are looking fantastic. I think I might want to become a flower gardener or flower grower, because I really love walking past and seeing these flowers every day, and it's just full of bees and other pollinators, and it just looks so good. And of course a lot of the herbs are useful, and there's edibles in there too. There's strawberries, and bordered by the comfrey and the clumping spring onions, so very happy with how that's turned out. We've had to irrigate it a little bit, but yeah, it's been worth it because it just looks stunning now. I'll show you this quickly before I finish off. This is where we used to have our compost bays, and we decided, well, I haven't really made compost for over a year, and the worm farms do it so much more efficiently than what I can do it. And I've got 7 or 8, I think 7 worm containers equivalent to a bath size each. And so the food waste and weeds and extra waste materials that we can get hold of, we just put them in the worm farms, and actually we can't get enough waste to really keep them all full. So what we've decided to do is abandon now doing our compost by hand. So I've used all the wood that made those compost bays and laid it flat, and then we're going to add this steam train char layer at the bottom, and then add some topsoil and compost. When we do a bit more digging in the food forest, we'll get more rocks, large rocks, and make a rock border. So there's the start of it. So we'll have a large rock border, and we'll again build up the soil. And this will probably be another blueberry patch, because I don't believe we should grow all our blueberries in one place. We need a diversity as always. So we're going to have another patch so that they spread out, and maybe they will do better here than there, or maybe there they'll do better than here, or maybe both will do well. We don't know until we try. So we'll give nature the opportunity to be diverse and see what happens. Again, we're adding carbon to the soil in order to build more soil. Like, we cheat a bit by bringing in topsoil, bringing in compost, but wherever we can, we are helping to build soil as much as we can. It's just that if we never brought anything in, it's just going to be so much slower. So we do take some shortcuts and speed things up when we can. If you've been watching our Facebook page, you've probably seen some photo updates on this trailer we've been renovating. We've done that in the last 3 months as well. So we scraped down all the rust, treated with acid, painted it with undercoat and a few coats of top coat, and we're going to build this into something functional. It's a bit of a secret, so if you'd like to post a guess of what it's going to become, a multifunctional, portable little bit of infrastructure, yeah, please post a guess underneath what you think it's going to be.